This is the COVID episode.
Yeah, introducing our newest host.
Guess which one of us has COVID?
It's me. It's me.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Midlight Crisis, a real podcast hosted by three grown-up biologists revisiting books from our teens, and it's totally cool. I am one of your hosts, Sophie, but I have a randomly generated fantasy name today. It's a good one. Okay, so my name today is Gregilton Hotbetter.
Jesus. Greg Gilton?
Greg Gilton is good.
Gregilton Hotbetter.
Hot
I would
better. Hot
say
is not
hot's
better.
worse. Yeah.
Hot is not better.
Hot
This
is not
household
better.
stands a cold environment.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
that's
it's the
crazy.
worst. No, anything over 20 degrees should be illegal.
Oh,
anything below 20 degrees should be illegal.
No, it's the only
give me
way to
15
live.
degrees. 15 degrees is the
Yeah.
best.
You should be Gregilton Hotbetter, honestly.
I think
Yeah.
so.
This is how you can tell it's a fantasy name, because I don't think Hotbetter.
Okay.
Anyway, who are you guys?
Well, my name's Sam, but today, instead of COVID Sam, you can call me Adair Clawmaker.
Whoa,
Okay.
Clawmaker.
Lawmaker.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like for carnivals? Like the claw machine?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. It's funny you said that. I just saw on, I think it was somewhere, that VidCon had a human
yeah.
claw thing. Did you see that too, where you could go for squishmallows?
What?
I just saw it like an hour before we recorded.
Yeah, I was like, that's so cool. This like one guy went down and he he was just a huge claw and he grabbed like 10 squishmallows. I was like, oh, that's amazing.
Wait, so the
yeah,
person
sure.
is on like a
In a
like
harness.
suspended? Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Like the person is
Right.
the claw. It's looks so cool. I was
Whoa.
like, oh,
I
I
want
want
to
to go
that.
to VidCon.
Okay, first we have to get famous for our podcast, and then we start a
Uh-huh.
YouTube channel, and
Uh-huh.
then
Yeah,
we can go to
it's true.
VidCon.
Yeah. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
Diversions aside, my name is Hannah, but for the purposes of today's podcast, you can call me by my randomly generated fantasy name, which is Fake It Curse Lady.
Sorry. One more time?
Fake It Curse Lady.
Fake it.
Oh,
Fake
that
it.
laugh just made me cough.
Are your curses real?
It depends on if they're on a sword or not.
A real sword?
Aw.
We can't make this joke
You
2
do.
episodes in a row.
Watch
oh my
me.
God.
I feel like I'm like a fantasy drag queen.
Yeah.
Oh.
It feels like the proper way to say this name is like, Fake It Curse Lady! And like that seems like something a drag queen would do when walking on stage, maybe.
Sure.
I don't watch Drag Race, but I bet
Sam?
there's one.
Yeah, no, that checks. I watch a lot of Drag Race.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I, by osmosis, watch
Yeah.
some Drag Race. Well, that's your drag name instead of your fantasy name.
Yeah, my drag name. Fake It Curse
Yeah.
Lady.
Your dragon
I
name.
love that. The more we say it, the more I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? At first I was
Yeah.
like, and then, yeah, it grew on me
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
fungus.
Well, while we're talking about dragons,
Dragons.
Uh-huh.
that was a good segue. Come on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the 2 chapters of Eragon we read this week. Oh, I just realized we probably shouldn't have made Sam just like read a whole chunk of text out loud for a long time, but that's okay. Too late now.
It's all right. Here
How about
we
you
go.
tell us what happened?
Yeah, I would love to talk about The Horns of Dilemma, which is chapter 49, which was a very fast-paced chapter. It actually kept me on the edge of my seat, which, as we all know, hasn't really happened in this book yet. But anyways, we start with the big reveal again, which is that Murtagh is Morzak's son, the same evil guy slain by Brahm and previous owner of the sword that Eragon now holds. Eragon and Saphira debate whether they can still trust him. Well, Murtagh argues they for sure can. The Underwolves are closing in on them, though, so they must continue fleeing and argue later. Saphira takes quite a beating, and all seems hopeless because the Varden entrance appears to be nowhere in sight until Saphira remembers that inside Arya's mind, they are actually on the wrong side of the lake. And they must pass through the waterfall, which they do, and then they come face to face with a dwarf and then another bald man in a purple and gold robe. Hey, I did it.
Wow.
You did it.
You survived.
I survived. So what about the next chapter, Hannah?
Well, in the next chapter, the title I have right here is called Hunting for Answers.
Mm-hmm.
The gang follows the bald man through tunnels within the mountain until they reach a large room where Baldy is going to magically sift through their minds to see if they're trustworthy. Before submitting to the examination, Eragon insists that Arya gets taken care of, and when she's taken away, presumably to a healer, he lets the bald guy into his mind. It is painful, but Saphira helps him endure the pain and to hide some of Eragon's memories from him. And once Eragon is reluctantly, for some reason, declared trustworthy, Murtagh summarily refuses to be mind probed, and the three of them are locked in the room, their futures to be decided the next morning.
Wow.
Murtagh finally tells his backstory about how he was raised in secret in the castle and sort of groomed to be part of Galbatorix's next generation of dragon riders until he realized the king was evil, at which point he escaped and eventually went to go follow the Razak in case they found a dragon. Eragon is conflicted and confused about this and falls asleep under Saphira's wing on the floor.
Because it's the end of the chapter.
Into the next chapter.
Because it's the end of the chapter, yeah.
And thus ends the run of not sleeping at the end of chapters.
Wow, we were doing so good.
Yeah, that was like 6 chapters in a row? Probably less. 4?
I was gonna guess 5, but like I didn't count.
Well, let's say 5 without checking back at all. That sounds right to me.
Yeah, by that.
Yeah.
5, give or take 2. Plus minus.
5 plus minus, we have no idea.
Confidence interval.
Yeah.
Anyway, these were some like eventful chapters.
Yeah, a lot happens.
Yeah.
The first chapter has so much Saphira biology building.
Yeah.
We've talked about this a little bit before, or I should clarify. I've talked about this before. About how it's like birds of prey can either be like beak-based or like claw-based fighters, you know? And that's like what talons are. It's if you're more like claw-based. And so we kind of get confirmation that Saphira is more like a jaws and biting based predator because she like picks up a cull. I should have the word open in front of me when I say it because I never remember what it is. What are they?
They're cull.
Okay,
cull, yeah.
Culls. Okay,
I was like, you got it.
You got it.
I'm probably
A cull.
right. Cull. What are they?
Your confidence is even lower.
Yeah. Even less here. Yeah, and she like picks one up and just like bites it apart essentially.
See, I thought that kind of went the opposite direction because she specifically grabs it with her claws and then like goes off to rip it apart with her jaws.
Right, but like the method of killing it was still with her jaws.
Okay.
Which is sort of what you see in Birds of Prey.
Okay.
Like they usually all will grab with feet, but some of them like use the feet to like pierce and murder that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. She grabs the cull with her claws, flies away, and dismembers it, and then drops the pieces.
Yeah.
Which is like pretty hardcore.
So I guess cull like aren't an interesting meal, whereas the human in the previous chapter was.
Yeah.
Oh
the guy who said she wanted to eat.
Yeah. But culls, no. I mean, they're probably full of like nasty oils and
piss and vinegar.
Those gross cull oils.
Cull oils.
I just, like, I can only see these as urukai, and so, like, I'm imagining can you imagine if you had an urukai and a human and you're a dragon? Like, I don't
You're like,
blame her.
that one's made of mud. No, thank
Yeah.
you.
That one looks gross.
That one's
It's
gross.
gross.
That one smells like it's already gone bad.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it could also be that because she's in, like, the heat of battle, she doesn't want to divert any of her energy to digestion,
Yeah.
which is, like, a thing that happens.
Yeah, I've heard digestion is like a little bit energetically expensive.
Uh-huh.
Some would say that.
Some
Some
would
would
say
say it's quite
Some-
difficult for some people. Or dragons.
We'll just move on from gently roasting me. Saphira once again has smoke streaming from her nostrils, even though,
Yeah.
again, I'm pretty sure she still hasn't breathed fire at this point.
Yeah.
No, she
Yeah.
doesn't. Could it be like
Leading up to it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because isn't that like a main theme in Rosaria Munda's books, Fireborn?
Yeah.
That like they smoke first, and then when they start breathing fire, it's like their
Fiber.
dragon puberty,
Fiber.
kind of.
Yeah.
Fiber.
Which is interesting because we've gotten to the point where unless we're all remembering incorrectly, Saphira should be like sexually mature at this age.
Yeah.
And it
Oh, I
is
think
it would be
so.
interesting for like a developmental feature like that to not exist during like sexual maturity. That was a roundabout way of saying that. I feel like dragon puberty, if she's sexually mature, should she not be able to breathe fire?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
But
she's
maybe
like
that comes in later.
holding back because it would draw attention to them. Like if she did all of a sudden like breathe fire and start a forest fire or something.
I mean, they're already
Maybe.
being attacked by an army. I feel like
Yeah.
That's true.
attention
'cause
is
then
drawn.
Wouldn't she just burn them all? Like,
That would be
Yeah, I feel like if
convenient.
she could breathe fire, she probably would be.
yeah, that's a good point.
But maybe she just doesn't know how. Like, it's not like she
Maybe.
has anyone to teach her.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like maybe it's either something that they need to be taught, or like maybe it's a thing where it's going to be one of those things that in books where it's like, oh, it's unlocked under extreme distress, you know, like if Eragon's about to die.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
then I feel like this scene would have been a good time to
Yeah.
do that.
It would
That's what I was
have.
just gonna say. I was like, this whole entire chapter would have been a real great time for that to show up.
Yeah.
So maybe it's more like fish. Let me
Mhm.
explain.
Those
Yeah, I was
fire-breathing
like-
fish we
yeah,
all know
the
and love.
fire-breathing fish that I
Let me
know.
explain.
All right, I'm waiting.
Yes.
Fish will reach sexual maturity at a size, not an age, and they will grow at different rates depending on their environmental conditions. So if you're in like ideal conditions, a fish might hit sexual maturity at like, I don't know, 6 months. But if they're in less than ideal conditions, it might take them longer to get to like the same stage of development.
Sure.
So it could be
Yeah.
that like maybe Saphira has to be a certain size
Oh my god,
before
she has
she's
to
able
be
to breathe fire.
She's
bigger
so
than a
big.
747.
She has to be bigger than 2.5 giraffes.
She's so big already.
She's already huge, but we do know that dragons can get so big they look like small mountains.
Yeah.
Well, and I
So-
think a common dragon thing, at least this is what they did in Game of Thrones, is that unless you restrict their space, a dragon will just like continue to grow. Like it'll never
Yeah.
like a
stop.
koi, which is incorrect.
Oh.
Yeah, unless you abuse your animals.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what's funny
yeah.
is that for something we can talk about in a minute, I was looking up if there were any think pieces out there of people who had already been like, how could dragons fly? You know?
Oh.
And I found a couple that were specifically about the Game of Thrones dragons.
Okay.
And the point I'm going to bring up right now is that apparently the Game of Thrones dragons were also the size of a 747.
Yeah, they were huge.
Yeah.
Like, they were ginormous. But that's what I was saying, because one of the main things they bring up, because at one point Daenerys puts two of them in, like, an underground prison to keep them from, like, killing the children in the area that she's at. But the one that wasn't put away, like, he ran away and was, like, basically free. And then when a certain amount of time had passed, the one who wasn't put away was, like, much bigger than the
Mhm.
other two.
Oh.
And then there was the concept that, yeah, it's like if you restrict their growth, like if you put them in a cage, they'll stop growing. But if you just let them roam free, like they'll basically just keep growing. to be ginormous. So yeah.
That seems to be a pretty common vibe, like in the Tamora Pierce series.
Oh.
No.
I was gonna
shockingly. In the Tamora, actually that one does it too. Now that you mention it, I guess I'll talk about it. No, both Tamora Pierce and Mercedes Lackey actually do a similar thing where it's like, oh, they never actually stop growing. Like they slow down, but they don't stop.
Yeah.
You know, which is like, is that a reptile thing? I feel like reptiles max out.
Yeah. But maybe
It's
the
a
maximum
lobster
size
thing,
is just
isn't
so
it?
big. It is like a lobster thing. And a lot of invertebrates, I think, can just kind of keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually it's like they could realistically keep going, but there's like something that stops them. Usually they're eaten, isn't it? Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah,
death.
one with lobsters, it's like an energetic thing.
Yeah.
I swear.
Is it energetically expensive?
It gets too energetically expensive for them to be able to molt. They like can't.
Okay. Sure.
Once they get to a certain size, they can't get enough energy to like successfully molt out of their current size into the larger one.
Yeah.
Right.
But theoretically, with like the proper conditions, they could be able to do it.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's also, again, not consistent with Saphira being the size of a 747, but I wonder if her growth has been kind of stunted because she's been on the run for her whole life and probably like operating kind of at the edge of her energetic needs.
Yeah.
Because like we've talked about how she's just strong enough to carry herself, as indicated by the fact that when she has to carry 3 people, even if she is that big, like she really struggles with it.
Yeah.
And her entire existence so far has been like on the move, constantly flying all day, every day. She probably isn't getting as much time to hunt. She's probably like using more of her calories than can be dedicated specifically to her growth.
Yeah.
Her energy is being sent to the somatic growth instead of the gonadal growth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so she's not sexually mature yet.
Not
Although
sexually mature yet.
She
Saphira
did
and her tiny nads.
with her tiny legs.
Oh my god.
No, but she knew that Eragon was in love even when Eragon didn't, so she has to be.
Children have no concept of love and definitely don't get married to each other in kindergarten. We all know this.
Yeah. Extremely true.
Yep.
I would argue I'm not sure they know about it in other people.
That's fair. I mean, I was aware of everybody else getting married in kindergarten, even though nobody in kindergarten married me.
Okay, but like I like the conclusion that we made that she is diverting her growth to bodily growth, so somatic growth, then compared to anything that would involve sexual maturity, gonadal growth, which is a very common strategy in the animal world when like there fish? Isn't enough resource. I was gonna say sea urchins, but mostly because this is my entire master's thesis was based on this entire concept of somatic growth versus gonadal growth. So
great point.
I'm a little excited. But
so what you're saying is my analogy that Saphira is like a fish is totally good.
Yeah.
Holds up to all sorts of scrutiny.
It didn't actually need any clarification. We could probably just cut off after the part you say where she's like a fish.
She's like a fish.
She's cut like everything else
and also like a compass.
Like a pencil compass.
Like a pencil compass.
And bowling for some reason.
Yeah, bowling pin, you know, Saphira's like a bowling pin.
Anyway.
She goes swimming.
Yeah.
And becomes an ambush predator in the lake. Yeah, like a fish.
Like
Speaking
a fish.
Of fish, damn it, that would have been a good segue.
Like a fish.
like a Nessie, perhaps.
Oh yeah.
Not a Breaking Dawn Nessie, like a Loch Nessie.
Oh.
Like a Loch Nessie. Yeah, she like acts a lot like a crocodilian when she's in the water. Again, which is fine.
Yeah.
Do you think dragons are descended from crocodilians?
It would explain the low frequency rumbling that I assume that they have.
And the hissing, which she does in this scene.
Yeah,
and
she both bellows and hisses in this scene.
And then she beats the water with her tail, which is another thing.
Oh,
yeah, and the smoke, you know, we all know
like
crocodilians breathe smoke.
Yes. For
Yeah.
sure.
Crocodilians are all addicted to nicotine. Nobody really talks about it, but it's a big problem.
But it's true.
They're all smokers.
That's why
I
they have
can't-
such low, gravelly
Yeah.
I legit
grumbles.
can't tell if you're serious because of like the Florida water pollution and the levels of nicotine in it.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is it could be true, which is
That's
unfortunate.
that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
That's sad.
you could actually be serious right now because like based off I don't know the smoking rate in Florida and nicotine levels in the water, like
We should
Maybe.
submit an article to The Onion.
Yeah. But also, like crocodilians,
Uh-huh.
Saphira is covered in osteoderms.
yes.
Yeah, because so there's a part where everyone tries to shoot Eragon with arrows, and they all miss somehow. So Saphira like jumps in front of them with her armored sides shielding them. And then after that, she like flies a little bit, and the arrows also bounce off of her belly.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
implies that she's got like protective scales there.
Yeah.
Which, like, I don't think normal lizard scales will protect you from like an arrow that can punch through
No.
armor.
No. But don't forget,
No.
Saphira is genetically modified for war.
Exactly. That's true. She's a genetically modified war machine. But yeah, so now I'm imagining her like, because like crocodilians have osteoderms, which is essentially like bony plates under your skin. So it's not necessarily like scales.
Interesting.
It's like bony plates that grow in your skin. So now I'm imagining Saphira like a flying ankylosaur.
Oh,
With like,
yeah,
you know,
is that spiky tail guy?
Yeah, those are the clubtail ones?
the clubtail ones. Yeah, the spiky one is a stegosaur.
No, I meant the club tail one. Sorry, that's
Okay,
what
yeah.
I meant.
Yes. Yeah, the club-tailed ones, because they're like fully covered in osteoderms.
And the
So
way you
that's
remember
how-
which one that is they're the ones that break your ankles with their club.
I mean, you're
That's
not wrong.
smart.
I assume that's the mnemonic everyone uses, right?
Yeah. The
Anyway.
ROM had an exhibit of a, like, I think it was an allosaur that they found the bones that had a broken shin that had started to
Oh.
heal, and it was 100% from an ankylosaur.
Whoa.
Pretty cool.
Would you say they had broken calves? Huh? That's relevant to this chapter. We'll get there. Let's
Yes.
continue talking about Saphira for now.
Yeah, that went right over my head.
I'm-
No idea.
Well, you guys
Yes.
clearly aren't students of the ancient language like I am.
Okay.
Clearly.
Yes. I will say with confidence they did have broken calves. So you can make your segue later.
I will keep that in my back pocket.
Actually, that was all the Saphira stuff
Okay.
I had.
Okay, then yeah, I'm gonna segue now, actually.
Yeah, do
Because
it.
Saphira is in this, like, epic battle with the Urgles, which is actually very fantastic. And Eragon's contribution is to do magic, and he says, Giarda they're Calphus? And we know that
Oh,
Giarda
no.
means break.
Oh no!
And it turns out Calphus means their calves.
Wow!
Snaps all of their legs with magic.
Whoa!
Wait, is that actually what happened?
That's actually what happens, yeah.
That
I
went over
literally
my head.
skipped that sentence. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That like went right over my head. I was like, okay, he's doing magic.
I went to go find it and I was like, no, I definitely read him say that. And then I read the part that's like sharp cracks resounded off the cliff. And I was like, oh, he broke a bunch of the cliff off onto them.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
what
I
I
skipped
thought.
to the next chapter, the next paragraph.
You skipped the part where 20 of the charging Urgles fell howling and clutching their legs where
Yep.
shards of bone protruded.
Yep.
Wait,
Didn't
that was
read that sentence.
me neither.
Oh my god, you
I
guys.
like how we both did this.
This shows exactly how Sam and I skip read.
Oh my god, you're the worst.
Okay,
I
I'm not
didn't mean
usually
to.
this. I'm not usually this bad when I'm like doing the podcast, but I think
Yeah, me
because
neither.
it was like the magic word, and we all know how bad I am at pronouncing those things. That my brain was just like, okay, he did magic, and then the cliff fell, so I was like, oh, okay,
Yep.
that's what it was. Wow,
Yep.
that's
I mean,
brutal.
Sam has an excuse because she's ill, but
Thank you.
Sophie.
I have an excuse because I skip read all the time.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm cutting this whole
Again,
part out.
not
This is
usually while I'm
embarrassing.
doing the podcast, but that's fun.
Okay, but Eragon, like, doing that goes back to the whole grain of salt in the stomach thing. Like, that's just, like, a brutal way
Yeah,
to hurt people.
like, why is he mad at fucking Murtagh?
Well, because Urgles aren't people.
Cool.
But also, like, if you're gonna do that, why break their legs and not their necks?
Yeah.
Because it would be
Well,
both
that's
more
it.
effective, and you'd only have to break one neck per Urgle.
Yeah.
Well,
So
but also, is it like, it goes on the whole question of what's like a more moral thing? You're gonna break their calves, leave them there suffering, unable to walk,
Yeah.
or just
Well,
break
and he
their
drops them
neck?
into the lake.
yeah, so
They're gonna
drowning.
drown.
I get that he's like, I can't kill, the whole Batman theme, whatever, but that's like
But,
what
like,
he did
you're
is almost
killing
worse.
Oh, for sure.
Ugh.
I think he specifically objected to killing someone who wasn't actively fighting him.
Yeah,
But
the
still.
whole honor thing.
Yeah, it's like, you're still killing a guy.
Still brutal.
Yeah. There was a lot of language in this chapter. Again, I know that at this point in the series, all we know about the Urgles is they're like these brutal savages who only fight people. But there's just like a lot of very dehumanizing language that makes me uncomfortable.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot.
The note I had for this specific scene was LOL Urgle Gurgle.
Sophie!
Wow, okay.
Because
Oh my god.
because Murtagh throws his sword at an Urgle
Jesus.
and it gives a strangled gurgle.
I can't take you anywhere.
So I was clearly deep in thought while I was reading this chapter.
Yeah. Well, did you also get stuck on the description that the Kull are as tall as a small giant?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Are there giants in this world?
It's like, what is a small? Is that like the boulder, the size, or the large boulder, the size of a small boulder?
Small boulder. Yeah.
What is a small giant? Is it
what
just
is a small giant?
a tall man? Like,
yeah, this is like when Eragon just casually was like, it's like the sea serpents seen out in the ocean.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so are there sea serpents?
it's like what?
And now it's like, are there giants?
And how big are they? If an 8-foot
Yeah.
Urgle is a small giant.
It's a small giant.
Like, they can't really be that giant if an 8-foot Urgle is a small one, right?
Well, actually.
Oh.
What?
I didn't look up how big giants are, but I did look up because obviously in our Earth Prime, in the prime material plane,
Yes.
here, well, people believed in giants for a long time, spanning multiple cultures, lots of mythologies, and they were usually based on people finding elephant femurs. Because elephant femurs look a lot like human femurs, weirdly enough. So I thought maybe in this case, rather than them actually existing, it's a case of them finding fossilized, like, mammoth bones the way we did, and thinking there were giants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means a giant would only really be twice as tall as an elephant, you know?
That's all.
If you think about it.
If you think about it. But that would mean, like, if a giant was twice as tall as an elephant and you encountered an 8-foot tall Kull, you wouldn't be like, a small giant. You'd be like, wow, a big Urgle.
Yeah.
No, I think you would be a small giant.
Agree to disagree.
I personally would look at an 8-foot tall person and be like, wow, a small giant.
I would just be like, wow, a giant person.
No.
But, that's just me.
Maybe this is the difference between the fact that I'm 5'5" and you're like 8 feet tall already.
Yeah, that's me, 8 feet tall.
I just look at everybody and I'm like, wow, a small giant. I just remember one time I had to take over an aquarium tank that Hannah had been taking care of since the dawn of time. And I went in to go like reach a valve, and I was just like, nobody on the earth can reach this valve. There's no step stool, nothing. I cannot reach it. And I remember texting Hannah being like, the fuck? And you were like, you can't reach that?
Oh god.
Like, no. I am but a baby child.
I think to get to the second one, to be fair, I had to climb on the sump a little bit.
Just
But the
normal
first one was
things.
fine. Just normal things.
Just normal work things.
Anyway,
Anyway.
A small
Giant. Just like Hannah. Anyway.
I'm going to completely change the subject because we've gotten off the rails.
We've gone on 3 tangents off of each other.
I had trouble picturing one of these scenes, and I'm hoping maybe you guys can help me parse it out. Eragon is running on foot and leading Snowfire, who is carrying Arya, and like Murtagh is riding his horse along with them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all like running along. The horses are tired, I guess, so they're going slow enough that Eragon and Saphira can keep up with them on foot. Eragon's like running alongside the horse. And then it says as they're like running along the side of this river, Eragon concentrated on going faster, but a rock gave under his boot and he pitched forward. Murtagh's strong arm kept him on his feet, and clasping each other's forearms, they urged the horses forward with shouts. Like, is Eragon still walking next to Murtagh on a horse and they're holding hands? And how small is Murtagh's horse if they can do that and still like effectively move? I'm so confused.
Oh, I thought Murtagh was also on the ground, but
when did he get off his horse?
To help him up?
No, weren't they walking them because it was less energy if they weren't on them? So they were like walking beside them to give the horses a break?
Were they? Oh yeah, okay. I just went back to the last chapter and Murtagh got off his horse and was driving them before him into the forest.
That's what I thought.
Okay, that makes it make way more sense. I was like, I don't understand what's happening.
Murtagh has an 8-foot-long arm. That's what you don't know.
Murtagh has an arm the size of a small giant.
Yeah. Obviously. And also, this is definitely not a romance novel, and you can tell because of the way Murtagh rips at his clothes with a desperate air, tearing off his tunic and shirt to bare his torso, which is, as Eragon observes, tanned and muscled skin. And then also, you also know this because Eragon definitely doesn't comment on how strong Murtagh's arms are as they're holding hands running through the river. Yeah.
I called it.
It's fine.
I called it.
You did call it, and I was skeptical, but you were so right.
Yeah.
We stan a bisexual lead.
Yeah. No, but it's not the second book though.
Yeah. I mean, it was like halfway through the first book though, so like maybe it still counts. I don't know if we've talked about this on this podcast. We have a theory of the book 2 bisexual. Every trilogy has a bisexual character introduced in book 2.
Yeah. I think we've allowed that it can be a character that's introduced in book 1, but it's not revealed that they're bisexual until book 2.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But normally the reveal, they do show up in the second book though. But
yeah,
I'd be willing to make an exception here.
Yeah, I mean, he was like the second half of book 1 bisexual.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, it hasn't been revealed yet. They
That's
haven't
true.
explicitly told us, so
I mean,
I'm sure it's gonna be true.
As our resident romance expert, I'm just saying.
It's happening already.
I've read romance books with less description before, so...
Yeah, oh my god.
Not saying that there's something, but there's something.
Like, this book is clearly narrated from Eragon's perspective, and Eragon notices a lot about Murtagh's body.
About Murtagh.
A lot.
Listen, does he want to be him, or does he want to be with him? The
bisexual
question.
Wow.
Anyway, and then they get caught by a cool wizard and go into the mines of Moria.
And the dwarf! Don't forget the dwarf!
Yeah, there's a dwarf. There's a tiny, very hairy dwarf and a very tall, very hairless man.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And you know the man's a wizard because he's wearing a purple and gold robe.
Yeah. And he's bald.
Which, like...
And he's bald.
Oh, but, like, how do you get purple and gold robes in a fucking refugee rebel camp?
He's a wizard. Magic.
He's a wizard.
Magic.
You're right. What was I thinking?
Duh.
He turned a normal robe into a purple and gold one.
Yeah.
Or it's just illusion magic, and so everyone sees it as purple and gold, but really it's just a drab brown.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, of course it would be purple. Like, I feel like it tells you so much about this guy that he wears a purple and gold robe. He clearly thinks he's, like, the hottest of shit.
Yeah.
He's like,
he's
I
so
wear the colors
full of
of
himself.
royalty.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Even before starting the next chapter, I was like, I'm gonna hate this guy.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Confirmed in the second chapter. He sucks.
Yep. He sucks.
A lot.
Yeah, speaking of the second chapter, this guy sucks.
He sucks so bad. He, like, is overly officious and, like, doesn't let Eragon... Like, Eragon says, someone's injured, we need a healer. And this guy is like, silence! Do not speak until you have been tested. And the dwarf is basically like, you jerk.
Yeah. It's like, actually,
let's get this elf to a healer.
That's an elf, yeah.
Uh-huh. Actually, that's specifically Arya. We know her.
Yeah. She's cool. Yeah, this guy is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Hate
truly.
him.
Yeah, it's always like, you always have to have one, whatever the hero is good at or is, like, learning to do, you always have to have someone who is, like, also doing that thing, but, like, is a terrible person to show how, like, humble and cool Eragon is. So you have this magic user, this wizard man, who's like, I'm a piece of shit, I can do magic. And it's like, well, now we know that Eragon's better as a person. Because this guy's terrible.
He's so bad. He, like, specifically tries to hurt Eragon whilst rifling through his memories.
Yeah.
And then when it turns out that, like, Eragon is trustworthy, and then later that Murtagh can't use magic and therefore is not a threat, he's upset about it. He, like, wants Eragon and Murtagh to be executed, I guess?
Yeah. Why would you... I assume it's going to be revealed he's, like, corrupt or whatever, and he wants to keep power for himself, and a rider arriving removes some of his power. But, like, why would you want a rider to be evil?
Yeah. Like, are you going to fight Galbatorix, Mr. Baldman?
Probably.
Like, I don't think so. Eragon's going to do it.
He probably thinks that he's, like, all high and mighty and strong enough, and he's, like, the nation's salvation. So he's like,
probably.
We don't need no rider. I'm the best you're ever gonna have.
Or maybe he's one of those people who, like, wants to keep the war ongoing so that he remains in power,
Yeah, probably. Just a shitty guy.
Just a terrible person.
And I thought his name was Igraz Karn, and I was like, an odd name. So I looked it up in the Eragon... Sorry, I thought that because the dwarf Auric calls him that.
Yeah.
According to the Eragon glossary, Igraz Karn is dwarvish for a bald one.
I don't think we get his name.
No, it's interesting to introduce a nickname without a translation in a different language before the character's name.
Yeah.
Because, like, the only reason I thought to look that up is, like, I vaguely remember this guy. And I was like, I feel like that's not what his name was. And I was like, so what is this? And so I, like, looked it up. But otherwise, I would have just assumed this was some guy named Igraz.
Yeah, because I feel like there's, like, this unwritten rule of, like, when you say something like Igraz Karn, which is, like, in your other fantasy language, you would, like, italicize it,
Yeah.
You'd be like, this is in a different language. And you can tell because it's in italics.
It's in italics. Maybe he can't do that because in this book, mental speak is in italics?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But still, like, it's a very common convention, and it would have made it clear that this was, like, saying something in a different language.
Yeah.
And, like, it's capitalized, so it looks like a name.
Yeah, the capitalization also is messing me up.
Yeah.
I was trying to think, like, oh, well, maybe he could have changed what, like, mental speak was. Then I remembered that Mercedes Lackey.
Mercedes Lackey?
Her mental
Yeah.
speak, she does like colons around
Oh.
them. And it was really weird when you like first start reading.
Yeah.
And then you like get used to it. But it's like definitely like not something most people do.
Yeah. Or like Animorphs. Their mental speak had the pointy bracket, not the pointy brackets, the pointy guys, you know, that
Yeah.
you use for
The
greater than or less than.
less than.
Yeah.
The
Those
alligator
ones?
mouths.
Or the French ones.
Yeah. Well, French uses two, don't they?
Right.
And
You mean the greater than or less than sign?
is there a name for those? Anyway,
I
it
don't
doesn't
know.
matter.
I'm just shocked that you even remember that. I could not tell you what the inside of an Animorphs book looks like.
Listen. Anyway, it would have been clearer if Christopher Paolini had done anything to delineate that this
was a different language. Just add some like accents on some of the vowels. Keep it lowercase, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or just italicize it and then unitalicize it if he's saying them in brain speak like everyone else does. Everyone.
You know everyone when
You
they
know
do
everyone?
their brain speak.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, pretty cool that Saphira can like protect Eragon
Yeah.
during this stuff. Which implies that she has like an imperceptible power, you know? Like that this guy wouldn't know that Saphira was hiding stuff from him.
Yeah, it raises several possibilities and doesn't really explain which one it could be.
Yeah. Because the guy doesn't even like react.
No.
He sort of like very rudely shuffles through all of Eragon's memories that he can access very slowly and painfully.
Yes.
I think it's described as claws through his mind.
Yeah, it's rude
and just
as
like
hell.
Yeah, it doesn't react that Saphira has like hidden some stuff.
Yeah, so I wonder if like Saphira is using her own magic to hide the fact that she's in Eragon's mind, or like maybe her mind is so different from a human's that this guy can't tell that she's in there at all and just like thinks there's something weird going on. Or maybe because I like mind melding magic, we know this, it's like maybe she's sort of like taking Eragon's memories and just like keeping them to herself, and then she gives them back when this guy is done.
Yeah.
Transactional almost.
It's weird because it kind of feels like the way he's looking at stuff is like he's pressing fast forward, you know, like on a movie.
Yeah.
And he's just going through Eragon's life. And so in theory, there should be like, oh, and then there's a weird gap where Murtagh said that he was the son of Morzan.
Yeah, it's interesting that he doesn't notice that there are things missing.
Yeah.
Although we don't know what he's looking for.
Yeah.
He does spend a lot of time looking at Eragon's memories of his mother, the Razak, and the Shade. Which don't seem to be connected.
Yeah.
Yet.
His mother is probably the one that we're going to get a reveal about.
Yeah.
Someday soon, hopefully.
Such as his mother, Selena.
Yeah.
They like make a point to mention her name every time she comes up. I'm sure that's not important.
Yeah, which is like also weird because wouldn't Eragon not really have memories of his mother? Because she left like right after he was born.
That's a good point.
Like, so is it, I'm assuming maybe he's lingering on memories of like Garrow telling him about his mother.
Yeah, and like I wonder if he can access the times that like Eragon just thought about her.
Yeah, maybe.
So basically after this guy f***s around in Eragon's head, he decides that Eragon is ... not your enemy. It's like, okay, maybe be a little more excited about the fact that the first dragon rider in a century isn't in cahoots with Galbatorix.
Right?
This man has ulterior motives.
Oh,
absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, like no question about it.
Yeah, this chapter really lays it on thick and being like, here are two new characters. This one is bad, and this one, the dwarf, is good.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because the dwarf, whose name is Auric, is like super chill.
He's great.
He's the one who steps in to make sure Arya goes to get help, and then he like is like, listen, you can stop f***ing with them now. They bring up like someone named Ajihad, who I guess is the one actually in charge.
He's
at
the
least
king,
here.
isn't
he? The dwarf king.
Yeah. Or was that my COVID brain? I was like, I thought there
No,
was a
yeah,
second
yeah.
king being mentioned.
Yeah, they mention Ajahad and they mention the king, and they don't specify if those are the same person or not.
Right.
Okay, my COVID brain definitely thought they were the same person.
Oh, I had to go and double check because I couldn't tell,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I think they're the same.
I can't tell.
Oh, okay.
I then remembered, but from the text I couldn't. So
Okay.
Based off that, I don't think they are. But I guess we shall see.
I
well,
guess
I'm
we shall see.
yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
But yeah, so like this guy isn't even in charge.
No,
Like I get the
Boldly.
sense that because it's a mix of humans and dwarves that like rescue them and then are in this room with them. And the wizard guy is human, and then the cool dwarf is Auric. And it feels like there is some tension between the two peoples.
Yeah, I'm getting
Yep.
that. At least between these two individuals, there's
Yeah,
certainly
true.
tension.
Yeah.
I assume they're acting as proxies for like the Varden and the dwarves.
Yeah, like I sort of assumed that the dwarves have allowed the Varden into this stronghold, which since it's underground, I assume is a dwarf place. And so maybe that's where, you know what? We don't even know if the tension is anywhere else other than between these two guys.
That's true. Again, not a romance novel.
Not a romance novel.
I beg to differ.
It might be. Auric keeps bringing up Ajahad. I had to listen to the pronunciation twice before this because I always pronounced it as Zihad, and that's not correct.
I like Zihad better.
Me too, but I was also like 12 when I came up with that. Yeah, Ajahad. He seems to be the person in charge.
Yeah.
Presumably, he is the king. Or he is friends with the king.
Yeah, and he can also do magic because...
Yeah.
Or, not Auric, the wizard
Baldy.
guy can mentally talk to him.
Yeah. It seems like it takes him a lot of effort to do so, which is kind of appealing to me, a petty person.
Yeah. It's like, oh, he's not that good at magic.
It's like, oh, wow, look how hard he has to try to mentally talk to Ajahad.
Yeah.
And Eragon and Sophie are just like, bup.
With whoever we feel like.
That's what it sounds like when they talk to each other. Their
exactly
shared internal
like
monologue is just bop.
They're loving it.
Damn it.
Yeah, and because they don't let this bald man read Murtag's brain, they have to stay in this cave for the night.
Yeah, Murtag is like, no, you can't get into my head. You already decided Eragon is trustworthy, so you can't threaten to kill him to get me to cooperate.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, what if I threaten you? And Murtag is like,
whatever.
Do it.
I dare you.
Yeah. Like, oh, persuasive.
Yeah. And then the dwarf is like, well, he can't do magic, so like, why does it matter? And the rest of us are like, Murtag has killed several magic people. Users already.
Yeah, including the shade, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But like, Murtag manages to fight this guy off in his brain. Yeah. Like, he apparently can't do magic, but he has enough brain training, I guess from growing up as Morzan's son, presumably, to like repel this magician. So like, good for him.
Yeah.
We already knew that Murtag had an iron will.
Yeah, because Eragon tried to get into his head one time, right? And was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yes, and he was locked down tight.
I like the idea that you can like make a wall around your brain that no one can get into. But I've also read like mind reading books where you can also just like think about nothing or think about something really annoying.
Yeah.
And I personally feel like that would have been more fun. Murtag just like is really good at singing like the most annoying song
Murtag
in
was
his
singing
head.
Baby Shark.
Yeah. On repeat.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, he's singing Baby Dragon again.
Oh my god.
I hate that song. I won't get anything out of this guy.
God damn it,
His
it's gonna
brain
be
is
in my head for days.
impenetrable.
His will is so strong, and Murtag's just like vibing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fun.
I went for a walk the other day, and I was like, I'm gonna just like see what happens if I don't listen to anything. I'm just gonna, take in the
Bold.
birds and the traffic.
That's bold
And
of you.
yeah, I don't usually do that, and part of the reason is for my entire 30-minute walk, my brain was looping not the whole song, but just the line
Toss a coin to your witcher.
over and over and over, and I was like,
Yep.
shut up!
Oh, Valley of Plenty.
Damn it.
Did you even watch The Witcher?
I did.
Okay.
And like I have that song on the like playlist of songs that YouTube thinks I want to listen to repeatedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had listened to it, I think the day before.
It's a good song.
Yeah, it's a good song. I don't really care for the show, so I'm like, I don't even like this show. Like, get out of my head.
Why?
Why? Anyway, nobody would have been able to read my mind because brain
Yeah.
empty. Only Witcher.
No thoughts, just Witcher vibes. Oh my god. Okay, anyway, before Sam dies
Please.
of overheating. So yeah, then Morzan shares his tragic what the fuck? Murtagh shares his tragic backstory.
I mean, Morzan is involved in that.
Morzan is involved with it. But yeah, Murtagh shares his tragic backstory to make sure we know he's a sad boy.
Now you know why I like him, right?
sad.
I mean, that's why he's my favorite character.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that it took him until he was like 18 to be like, actually,
Yeah.
Galbatorix is bad.
Yeah.
Like, I know they mentioned that like he spoke to Galbatorix one time, and Galbatorix is such like a seductive speaker that like you fall for whatever he's saying. And it's like, well, but like before that.
Yeah. And I like how this is posed as being like Murtagh's backstory. He's like, I'm gonna like tell you my story. I don't want to stop because it's too painful for me. So like everybody get comfortable. And then he talks about his parents for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eragon says what happens next. And Murtagh says, I grew up.
Yep.
And then suddenly the next thing is when he's 18. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
so
So like nothing. All
like
right.
most of the stuff that you just said happened before you were born.
Yeah.
But okay. Family trauma is like definitely a real thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is Murtagh's backstory, and it's pretty much just about his mom.
Yeah. His mom and his dad, and then his weapons teacher, and then him.
Yeah, and his creepy uncle Galbatorix.
Yeah, it is. I could do without the part where it's like Morzan was a piece of shit, but then my
Yeah.
mother obviously fell in love with him. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
I
It's
didn't
like
like
he
that.
probably showed her one kindness and she fell in love with him. I'm like, I would love for it to be like she was also a terrible, like,
Yeah.
manipulative, cunning person, and she was like, hell yeah, Morzan, I'm gonna take you for everything you've got. And then they
Yeah.
fell in love. Like,
I would
that's great.
I would read the shit out of that. Much prefer
Yeah,
that.
like- Maybe they were using each other, or maybe Morzan decided it would be in his best interests to have someone who's like totally beholden to him and used his like ancient dragon rider evil magic to like force her to be in love with him.
Yeah.
Which, like, maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, true, maybe. But the way it's presented is like she had no choice but to fall in love with him after he showed her some small kindness. And it's like, can you
Yeah,
fucking not?
because like the only thing that makes me hope that at some point, I don't know, this is a weird hope, that it's going to be revealed that she like has agency and is also like, a badass, terrible villain.
Yeah.
Is that like, oh, because of Morzan's training, they were never able to find my mother when she left,
Yeah.
Yeah, because she left for almost a year or a couple of months. How long was it?
Yeah.
How much do you want to bet it was 9 months?
9 months.
Whoop.
Who thinks
Yeah.
that?
Oh, dang.
Definitely me.
Mhm.
But when Morzan goes off to like fight Braum for Saphira's egg, Murtagh's mother also vanishes, and then
Yeah.
Morzan dies, like is killed by Braum, and his mother comes back and then immediately dies.
No, she gets sick.
Sorry, within a fortnight she dies.
Yeah, she suffers a great illness,
Childbirth.
grows steadily worse, and then died. It's weird. It's almost like she had a baby.
It's almost like she had a
Could
baby.
have been Eragon.
Yeah, and then
I'm
probably
so
like hemorrhaged to
shocked.
death.
Wow, weird.
Or she
Because
died
she
of a...
traveled the day after she gave birth.
Oh,
We've talked about this.
Jesus. Got a horrific infection because only women get infections in this novel.
Yeah.
Men can't die. What are we talking about? Men are immune.
Of course.
Yeah,
Oh wait, that's the lie. Brom died. Rip.
that's
Oh,
true.
You're right. Unless they can only die if Eragon cares about them.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, but sad boy Murtagh can't go anywhere. Sad boy
No,
Murtagh must
I
stay.
know. He's
Must
so good.
stay.
He's so tragic. It's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, by the time Murtagh's mother leaves and Morzan dies, Morzan is the last of the Forsworn. And it says that the Forsworn died through various means: suicide, ambush, and overuse of magic. Those are the ones that are listed. But mostly it was the work of the Varden. So, like, most of them were killed, but some of them just, like, at least two, because he mentioned suicide and overuse of magic. At least two of these, like, extremely formidable ancient warriors just, like, killed themselves.
Yeah.
Either intentionally or unintentionally. It's like, well, that's a bummer.
Like, yeah, the overuse of magic implies some level of altruism, right?
Or he was, like, trying,
Yeah.
I'm assuming or they were trying to, like, destroy an entire army of the Varden from a distance, like Eragon was trying to do with the Urgles.
Yeah, but that,
Oh.
like, to use enough magic that you kill yourself
That's true.
implies that you're trying to save someone else, you know? Which
Yeah.
is like, did the Forsworn actually, like, care?
Maybe they cared about each other. Or
each
maybe he
other?
was trying to save... Again, I keep assuming that this is a man. I assume that all of the Forsworn were men.
Yeah. No, there's gonna be one woman.
Yeah,
Probably.
true.
Yeah.
One of them was a woman. And
Yeah.
oh my god,
And she's
it was
the worst of the
Selena!
worst.
Yeah, she's the worst one. But maybe
Anyway.
his dragon died, and then he was like, bah! Overuse
Oh,
of
yeah.
magic. Because that
True.
seems like something that would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, and then Murtagh was specifically brought to the palace by the king as a 3-year-old and raised. That's all we learn about his upbringing, is that he had one.
Just normal stuff.
Normal
Just
stuff.
normal evil king palace stuff.
Yeah. He has a
Yeah.
faithful servant who taught him how to use a sword. It's like, man, when you
Yeah.
were talking about your, like, the man who taught you everything you knew, who you cared about so much that you named your horse after him, when he died, it was like, I was kind of hoping for more of, like, an equal, but, like, servant, I guess. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Murtagh was being raised to be a servant, essentially,
That's
you know?
true. Yeah, Murtagh was definitely going to be, like, Galbatorix's replacement, Morzan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he was hoping for.
And then Murtagh ran away, which is good.
He's out.
He's out, and now he's with the Varden, which is just as bad for him.
Which is even worse.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing that really happens is Eragon and Saphira are like, ooh, is he telling the truth? Like, I don't know, we don't know. And Saphira is just like, he might be crazy. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Just like,
Thank you for
wow,
your pragmatism, Saphira.
Yeah.
I really appreciate Saphira's, like, inhuman practicality sometimes.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
bluntness would be another way of putting it. She's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I don't know, maybe he's crazy. And it's like, okay, that's not helpful. But,
Yeah.
like,
I was
maybe.
just like, there are so many, like, very specific things that he mentions that are just like, I don't know why you'd be like, well, none of this makes sense. You know?
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah.
like it all tracks.
Yeah,
So,
seems reasonable to me. Poor guy.
poor guy. Poor sad boy Murtagh.
Yeah,
At
finally.
least, finally, Eragon lets him go to sleep.
And should we also go to sleep?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's time for bed.
It's time for bed. It's 7:45.
I
It's
mean,
8:15.
I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah. Sam's gonna go to bed, but first we have to guess what's gonna happen next.
Yeah.
So the next two chapters are called The Glory of Trondheim. Trondheim. There's a J in there. And I forgot how you pronounced it. Ajhad.
Well, we're gonna meet
is
him.
the other chapter. I think we're gonna meet Ashahad.
I think we're gonna meet
in 2
Ashahad?
chapters. Ashahad?
Ashahad?
Now I can't remember.
That's fine.
Ajid!
Well,
I don't know.
yeah. And I'm assuming Trondheim is the place they're in.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, it's the dwarf mine. Yeah, so
it's
he's
the
cooking it.
Kingdom
Moria.
Under the Mountain or whatever.
Yeah. Moria.
Yeah.
Moria.
It's the Lonely Mountain, and
Hopefully there's
inside
no
we'll find the
goblins.
Arkenstone.
Hopefully there is not a Balrog.
Oh,
There is a dragon.
There is a
There is-
dragon, that's
there's a
true.
dragon.
And a wizard.
And a wizard.
But the wizard is super hairless. I guess, quick before we go, the wizard is not only bald, he doesn't have eyebrows either, which is weird. Okay.
Oh, that
yeah.
is weird. I didn't notice that. Or a beard.
Or a beard.
Interesting. Some sort of magic thing where he's not allowed to have hair, probably.
Yeah, it makes him closer to the gods or some
Yeah, makes him too slippery for people to
Obvious.
catch.
Well, his eyes are really close together, so he might be like a fish.
And conclusion of this episode, how everything is a fish.
Everything is a fish.
Everything is a fish. Exactly. Like
Listen.
it.
Taxonomically.
Yeah.
All of
I
these things
know.
are fish.
I
well,
know.
can we be
Well.
sure about the dwarves or the Urgles or the...
If we
We
assume
don't know
that
yet.
all vertebrates share a common lineage.
Maybe they have an exoskeleton. We don't know. They haven't
That's
described
true.
what they look like yet. Just that they're short.
Well, the dwarfs have hair, which implies that they're mammalian.
Could be pycnofibers. You don't
Could
know.
be convergent evolution. I don't
yeah.
know.
Could be cilia.
To be
Ooh,
determined.
No, I hope it's
Sam's
not
like,
cilia.
stop
I'm
doing this.
Yeah,
Sam's done. Okay.
Guys, let's talk about this next week.
No, first we're going to talk about what other books we're reading super fast.
Yes.
The only book I'm reading is the book I picked up yesterday, which is Locklands by
Yes.
Robert Jackson Bennett.
Robert Jackson Bennett. I'm like 4 hours in
Oh man.
to the audiobook. I have no idea what's going on and I love it. Okay. What about you guys?
Yeah. I have started and stopped so many books because COVID, but
Mhm.
I'm just reading Jade War. I've just Jade City. I keep
I was
calling
like,
it.
geez, you're fast.
No, I know. I keep doing
Jade War
this.
is book 2.
Jade War is book 2. I'm reading Jade City, which it's June, and that's our June Midlight book club when we're recording this. So I'm trying to read that. I got the audiobook to try to speed things along, and so that is what I am reading.
I'm also listening to Jade City because, again, despite the fact that this comes out at the end of August, it is June when we're recording.
It is June.
So I've been listening to Jade City, and I'm reading Labyrinth of Evil by James Luceno, which is a Star Wars Legends novel.
Nice.
And that's been kind of fun. And normally this is the part where I'd say what we're reading for Midlight Book Club this month, but like, I think this episode comes out on like the last day of August. So
It
Sophie,
does.
what are we reading in September?
In September, we're reading Gideon the Ninth.
Ooh, I forgot.
Yay!
I had suggested it for last year, but then I really wanted to read the 10,000 Doors of January again. So this year, we're reading Gideon the Ninth.
Yeah,
so
well,
excited.
that's good stuff.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. If you liked this chapter of Midlight Crisis, consider rating and reviewing us on Spotify or your podcatcher of choice. You can talk to us and find fun-related content on social media. We are at Midlight Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and all chapters of the show thus far are available on our website, midlightpod.podbean.com, and on YouTube.
And from Eragon, describing how Sophie and I have been feeling for the past 6 days in COVID isolation. They were trapped inside, but were they any safer?
Well, it's too real.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
Sophie's
feel like
any
Sophie
safer.
is explicitly less safe.
She's
The
very
air is
much
lava.
less safe.